Good evening, everybody. So today we are going to start Unit 5, Animal Form and Function, and this is Session 1. In this session, I'm going to cover epithelial tissue and the digestive system. Right? So we'll start with tissues. What is a tissue? Now, in the hierarchical order, you have learned like cells, then a group of cells form tissue, then a group of tissues form the organ, like that. Then what is this tissue? We should know the definition of the tissue. Even in Unit 4, you learn the definition of tissues. There are plant tissues as well as animal tissues. Now, in this lesson, we are going to focus about animal tissues, right? Mainly human. Anyway, what is the definition of tissue? In the structured essay paper, they can ask that kind of question, right? Tissue is a group of one or more cell types, right? It can be a group of cells of the same type, or else it can be a group of cells of different types. And that group of cells, right? It is specialized to perform they are specialized for a specific function. And also they have a common origin. So then what is the definition of a tissue? Tissue is a group of one or more cell types which carries out specialized function or functions. So you have to study this definition. Then in our body, if we take an animal, in the animal body, there are four main tissue types: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. Today in this session, we are going to learn about epithelial tissue. Yes, what is this epithelial tissue? Where we can find this epithelial tissue? Now, if we take connective tissue, you know, like blood, right? The best example is blood. Then muscle tissues in previous grades, like when you were in grade 10 and 11, you have learned there are three types of muscle tissues: skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. And also about the nervous tissue, right? Epithelial tissue, what is it? Where we can find epithelial tissue? This epithelial tissue, it lines or it covers external or internal free surfaces and organs, right? It covers external or internal free surfaces of organs. And the cells of these tissues are closely packed. Again, they are closely packed, right? Now, if we take our skin, the skin is also composed of epithelial tissue. If there are spaces between cells, what will happen? Now, I told you this, our skin, it is composed of epithelial tissue. Now, if there are gaps between this epithelial tissue or between the cells, what will happen? All pathogenic microorganisms, they can enter into our body through those gaps. What is the major function of our skin? It provides protection, right? It acts as a barrier. But if there are gaps between those cells, right? That skin can the skin perform that function? No, it can't act as a barrier, because through those pores, through the gaps between the cells, pathogenic microbes and all the dust and everything can enter into our body and they can cause diseases. So the first point you have to learn about epithelial tissue is they covers external or internal surfaces. External means like our skin. Internal means they cover, they lines the blood capillary walls, then alveoli, those things. And the second point is, in the epithelial tissue, all the cells are compactly, they are closely packed. There are no any gaps between the cells. They are closely packed. And the next thing, now look at this one, right? This is epithelial tissue. Now here you can see this blue color one. It is called basement membrane. On the basement membrane, these cells are present, right? These cells, they are dice-shaped cells. right? You can see the nucleus. Now this free surface, right? The free surface. It is called the apical surface. It is free. It is open, right? It's not attached to anywhere. Free surface. It's called apical surface. And the surface attached to the basement membrane is called basal surface, right? There are two surfaces, apical surface and basal surface. Apical surface remains free and the basal surface is attached to the basement membrane. In the exam, right, they can ask you to write a short essay about epithelial tissue. So you have to include all these informations in your essay. What is the first point? It covers external or internal free surfaces and organs, and the cells of the tissues are closely packed. In here also you can't see any gaps. They are closely packed to each other. Then there are two surfaces. What is the first surface? Apical surface. It remains free. Whereas the second surface, basal surface, it is attached to something called basement membrane. And the next thing is, there are no blood vessels in the epithelial tissue. No blood vessels. So how this tissue get nutrients? If there are no nutrients, they will die, right? Should get oxygen, need nutrients. If there are no blood vessels, how can they get those nutrients and oxygen required for their survival? They obtain those nutrients and oxygen from the underneath connective tissue. Now you can see under the basement membrane, there is a connective tissue, right? There's a connective tissue. This part, right? So this connective tissue, it provides oxygen and nutrients required for this epithelial tissue, right? Now in the textbook, they have given three major functions: protection, secretion, and absorption, right? Protection. How this epithelial tissue provide protection? You can send your answers through the chat. These are functions of the epithelial tissue. Protection. Here, this epithelial tissue, it acts as a barrier against mechanical damages, mechanical injuries, right? Then, it acts as a barrier against pathogens. Then, barrier against the fluid loss, right? Dehydration, it gives protection for us. It prevents fluid loss. And the next thing, secretion. Secretion. It can secrete enzymes, hormones, mucus, sweat, right? You know, like from our skin, right? Skin, it secretes sweat, right? And if we take mucus glands, they secrete mucus. So all those glands, they are lined by this epithelial tissue. So the second function is secretion. And the next thing, this epithelial tissue, it also line blood capillaries and alveoli. So in those places, they do absorptive function, right? In the alveoli or in the blood vessels, they absorb nutrients. In the blood vessels, they absorb nutrients. And respiratory gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide, you know, in the alveoli, oxygen and carbon dioxide, they diffuse, right? They diffuse through those through the epithelial tissue there. Okay, so the first function is protection, second one secretion, third one absorption. Those are the three functions of epithelial tissue. Right, now again we'll check on the characteristics of epithelial tissue. First one, it covers external or internal free surfaces and organs. Number two, the cells of the tissues are closely packed. The cells of the epithelial tissue have both apical and basal surfaces. Apical surface remains free. Basal surface is attached to the basement membrane. No blood vessels are present in the tissue. And tissues get nutrients and oxygen from the underneath connective tissue. Right, can you please let me know, right? Can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me clearly? Okay. Then, next one, functions. Protection, barrier against mechanical injury, pathogens, and barrier against fluid loss. Secretion, enzymes, hormones, mucus, sweat. And the last one, absorption, nutrients and respiratory gases. Right. Then we can divide this epithelial tissue into two general types based on the number of cell layers on the basement membrane. If there is only a single layer, it is called simple epithelia. And if there is more than one layer, that means several layers, it is called compound epithelia, right? Simple epithelium and compound epithelium. Simple epithelium again can be divided into four. Simple squamous epithelium, simple cuboidal, simple columnar, and pseudostratified epithelium. And compound epithelium, two types as stratified squamous epithelium and transitional epithelium, right? We have to learn the features, the shape of the cells, and where we can find this tissue separately, right? Now, first group, simple epithelia. Simple epithelia means what? There is only single cell layer on the basement membrane. There are four examples. Simple squamous epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium, simple columnar epithelium, and pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Now, please listen carefully. At the end of this part, we are going to discuss a full structure dissection from epithelial tissue. Right? Okay. Simple squamous epithelium. Now look at these two pictures. Now in the first one, right? First one, what is the shape of the cells? Are they look like dice or looks like is it cuboid shape? No. It is plate-like. It's plate-like, very thin. And there is only single cell layer. Right? So this simple squamous epithelium, it is composed of single cell layer, and here the cells are plate-like, right? They looks like plates, and it is very thin and leaky, right? So since it is very thin and leaky, it's found in places where material exchange occur by diffusion. You know, when the distance that the materials have to transport is very low, then the efficiency of diffusion is greater. So here in this epithelium, the cells are plate-like and thin and leaky. So this simple squamous epithelium found in places where materials exchange by diffusion. There are two examples given in your resource book, blood capillaries and in alveoli, right? Blood capillaries and alveoli. What is the shape of cells? Cells are plate-like cells. What is the function? Found in, since they are thin and leaky, found in places where material exchange occur by diffusion. Examples are blood capillaries and alveoli. So in the exam, if they ask about the simple squamous epithelium, you should be able to draw. Right? In the exam, if they ask you to explain about the epithelium tissue, you have to explain about these types separately, and you have to include these pictures and you have to label them. Okay? Right. Second group is, also this is found in the descending limb of nephron. Right? We will learn about those things later. Then the simple cuboidal epithelium is the second one. Cuboidal. Simple means single cell layer. Cuboidal, it's cubic shape, dice shape. Cube shape. Now here it is plate-like cells. Here, look at the shape of the cell. Cubes. They looks like cubes, dice-shaped cells. And they are specialized for secretion. Right? Specialized for secretion. So found in places where found in glands like thyroid glands, salivary glands, they secrete enzymes and hormones, right? And kidney tubules, okay? Proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule, right? We can find simple cuboidal epithelium. Single cell layer, dice-shaped cells. Function is secretion. Third group is simple columnar epithelium. Simple columnar epithelium. Here they are like the height and like they are looks like bricks. Okay? Now in the previous one, the cells looks like cubes. Now here it's cuboid shape. Okay. Here also single cell layer and the cells are large and brick shaped. And this kind of epithelium is found in places where secretion or active absorption is important. Where we can find this cell type? In places where secretion or active absorption is important. Example, in the intestinal lining. In the intestinal lining. And the last example for simple epithelia is pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Now look at this one. Here you can see the nuclei is in different levels. But are there several layers? No, there is only one layer of cells. And their heights are different. Heights of the cells are different. Cells are not in equal height. Right? The tissue, it consists of a single layer, so it is categorized under simple epithelia, but the cells are not in equal height. And the nuclei of cells are located in different heights, at different levels. So it appears as several layers. That's why it is called pseudo-stratified. Pseudo means fake, boru kiyanika. Right? Pseudo-stratified. Now, this kind of epithelium is found in the mucous membrane. Right? Here you can see at the top of these cells, cilia is present. Right? So, even though there is only a single cell layer, since cells are in different heights and their nuclei are located at different levels, it looks like it appears as several cell layers. That's why it's called pseudostratified. And these are ciliated cells and forms mucous membrane. And this cilia, it helps to sweep the mucus along the surfaces. Found in places like nasal passage, and then trachea, right? Trachea and nasal passages, they are lined by this pseudostratified columnar epithelium. So we learn about 4 types of simple epithelia: simple squamous, simple cuboidal, simple columnar, and pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Now the next one is compound epithelia. Compound epithelia means there are several cell layers on the basement membrane, right? They have given 2 examples: stratified squamous epithelium and transitional epithelium. In the resource book, we have to learn only about stratified squamous epithelium. So what is the first feature? There are several cell layers on the basement membrane, right? Stratified squamous epithelium is the epithelium tissue which can be found in our outer skin. Right? Yes. Now here, the thing you have to know is this is composed of several cell layers. So where are the new cells? Where are the old cells? These new cells, right? Cell division occur near the basement membrane. Right? Cell division occur near the basement membrane. So new cells present at the basement membrane. Okay. Cell division produce new cells at the basement membrane, and the old cells, they slugged off and replaced by the new cells. At the top layers, there are old cells. And දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ හවසට සෙල්ලම් කරලා හරි මොකක් හරි දාඩිය දාලා එහෙම තීදි මොකද වෙන්නේ? අර ඇඟේ කුණු විදියට ගලවිලා යන්නේ මොනවද? ඒ dead cells ටික, all cells. And the next thing is this epithelium, it regenerates rapidly. ඉක්මනට regenerate වෙනවා. ඉක්මනට cell division වෙනවා. දැන් අපේ ඇඟේ එහෙම කුණු ගැලවි ගැලවි යනවා නම් ඊට පස්සේ හිමීට ඔක cell division වුණොත් මොකද? නිකන් අර ඇඟේ කෑල්ලක් ගෙවිලා කින් වගේ වෙනවනේ. නිකන් අර ඔයගලන්ගේ සෙරප්පු ගෙවෙනවා වගේ. But here this epithelium, it regenerates rapidly. And the next point, this epithelium, it is found in places where they are subjected to abrasion, like outer skin, lining of mouth, anus, vagina. Right? 5 points. This tissue is composed of several cell layers. Epithelium regenerates rapidly. Cell division produces new cells near the basement membrane. All cells slugged off and replaced by the new cells. And this epithelium found on surfaces where they are subjected to abrasions such as outer skin, lining of mouth, anus, vagina. Okay, so those are the theory points that we have to learn under epithelial tissue. Right, now we'll go to a small activity. Right, it's a structured essay question from this part. So what you have to do is put the question number and write down answers for this. You have only 10 minutes. Right, quickly start to do that. And you can submit your answers through the Telegram group, right? Send your answers through the Telegram group quickly. If you have finished this slide, please let me know. I'll change the slide, okay? Finish? Shall we move to next question? Here in the part B, Roman number 1, you have to name what kind of epithelium is this. A and B, and you have to label these arrowheads, right? Yes. Okay. Finish? Shall we move to next slide? Right. What about others? Only 3 people. Only 3 people send me the answers. Okay. Right. Finish. Finish. Shall we move to next one? Aska, Wasima, okay. What about others? Priyanka, yes. Others? Finish. What about others? Right. If you have finished, please send your answers through the Telegram or WhatsApp quickly. We'll start the discussion within 2 minutes. Send your answers quickly. Right. We'll start the discussion. Now look at the first question, part A, Roman number 1. Explain what is meant by the term tissue. Tissue is a group of one or more cell types which have common origin and carry out specialized function. Now, you have to include group of one or more cell types. A point එක තියෙන්න ඕනි. ඊළඟට and carry out specialized function or functions. That is the, second point. Okay. Then list common function of epithelial tissue. We learned 3 common function: protection, absorption, and secretion. Then Roman number 3, for the first one, give 2 marks. If you have not mentioned any answer, no marks, okay? That means if you have not mentioned, like there are 2 points that should be included in that answer. If you have missed any point, then no answer, no marks. 3 marks for the second question. Then give characteristic structural features of epithelial tissue. There were 7. 7 points were there. Cells are placed on a basement membrane. Cells are closely packed. Then do not have blood vessels. Cells have apical surface which remains free, and basal surface which is attached to the basement membrane, right? If you have written any 4 answers, give 4 marks. Then epithelial tissues are always found in a special location. Explain the special feature of this location. Now they are found in external or internal free surfaces. They cover external and internal free surfaces. Right? They line up internal and external free surfaces of organs. Right? For secretion of sweat, mucus, and absorption of nutrients. And also protection. So here, your answer should include epithelial tissue cover free internal and external surfaces of organs. Then, next one. What is a stratified epithelium? Stratified epithelium means an epithelium tissue which contains several cell layers, several epithelial cell layers. Okay. Then, identify the type of epithelium given below. Now, A, what is it? It is simple squamous epithelium. Here, arrow A is the plasma membrane. And arrow B is the nucleus. Okay. Then B, what is it? It is simple cuboidal epithelium because you can see the cells are dice-shaped cells. Here, this is letter C. That is again nucleus, and D is the basement membrane. E. Cells are, they are brick-shaped cells. So, simple columnar epithelium. Here, J is the nucleus and R is the basement membrane. Next one, stratified squamous epithelium. Stratified squamous epithelium. Here, G is the old epithelial cells because it found like it is in the upper layer, right? Closer to the apical surface. And I is the basement membrane, H is the new cells or nucleus කියලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. Okay. Next question. They have given a table. Now epithelium shape found in location. Lining of mouth. What is which type of epithelium found in lining of mouth? So always abrasion takes place. So it's lined by stratified squamous epithelium. What is the shape? They have not given any shape. The upper cells are flattened. It is composed of several cell layers. Location. තව කොහෙද? In the skin, outer skin, in the vagina. Okay. Then, second row, alveoli. Alveoli. Now, if we take alveoli through the alveolar wall, right? Respiratory gases diffuse. So, their wall, it should be very thin and it should be leaky. So, it is composed by simple squamous epithelium. Here, cells are plate-like cells, thin and flattened. Thin, plate-like cells, which are leaky. Also, they are found in the lining of the wall of the alveoli. Lining. Then, next one, cells are not equal in height. කවුද? බොරු වැඩ කරේ කවුද? බොරු එක්කෙනා pseudostratified column epithelium. Right? Here, they are found in the location nasal passage and trachea. They have cilia on their cell surface, in the apical surface. And it lines up nasal passage. Next one, place where active absorption takes place. How they name? Simple column epithelium. Shape is brick-shaped cells. They are tall brick-shaped cells found in the intestinal lining. And simple cuboidal, they are dice-shaped cells. Dice-shaped cells found in places where secretion takes place, like salivary glands, kidney tubules, and thyroid gland. Okay? හරිද? හරිද? Right. Next one. Write the type of epithelium found in following location of human body. Blood capillaries, simple squamous epithelium. Thyroid gland, simple cuboidal epithelium. Then intestinal lining, simple columnar epithelium. Trachea, pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Then outer skin, stratified squamous epithelium. Then select the correct statement. Stratified squamous epithelium regenerates rapidly. Yes, stratified squamous epithelium is the type of epithelium found in the outer skin. Right? So it regenerates rapidly. In stratified epithelium, cell division produce new cells near the basement membrane. Yes, that is also correct. Near the basement membrane, new cells are produced and all cells are slugged off from the apical surface. In pseudostratified column epithelium, cells are equal in height. No. Right? Pseudostratified column epithelium, there is only single cell layer, but they are different in height, not equal in height. And the nucleus is so at different levels. That's why they looks like several layers, even though there is only single cell layer on the basement membrane. That is incorrect. Right? Then D, in pseudostratified column epithelium, several cell layers are present. No, there is only single cell layer. E, in simple cuboidal epithelium, die-shaped cells present. Yes, that is correct. That's why they are called simple cuboidal. Cube shape. F, there is no blood supply in the epithelial tissue. No blood supply. Blood supply is there. Blood vessels are absent. Blood supply is there, but blood vessels are absent because you know the connective tissue underneath that epithelial tissue provide those nutrients and oxygen. So blood supply is there, but is absent. Blood vessels. No blood vessels. So this statement is incorrect. Not blood supply. It should be blood vessels. Okay. Then simple squamous epithelium is found in places where material exchange by diffusion. That is correct. Then nerve endings may be present in the epithelial tissue. Nerve endings, yes. Cilia may be present in the apical surface of the epithelial tissue. Yes, in the pseudostratified column epithelium, cilia present in the apical surface. J, distal convoluted tubules are made up of simple columnar epithelium. That is incorrect. It's made up of simple cuboidal epithelium. Okay, right. So now in the exam, they can give a short essay on the topic epithelial tissue. So write down a homework, right? Write an account on epithelial tissue. Next day, we will discuss an sample answer for that one, right? Write an account on epithelial tissue. You have to explain what is tissue, what is epithelial tissue, its function, characteristics, different types, and also you have to include those pictures, right? The tissue pictures of those different types of tissues, and you have to label them. Right? Next day we will discuss an essay. We will discuss that essay. Right. Next one, nutrition in animals. Now we are going to start digestive system. Nutrition in animals. Now this part, right? The same part is given in 2011 A-level paper as an essay question. There the student have to discuss, right? Write an essay on nutrition in animals. Right. So that means we have to study all these points here. Now look at this one. Animal nutrition is the process by which food is taken in for make using different body functions. Right? You know, food is a basic need. So the process through which the animal body obtain those nutrients required for the existence of our life is called nutrition. Nutrition is a living feature, right? All living organisms, they require nutrients. So they show this one, right? This is a living feature, animal nutrition. So animal nutrition, what is it? The process by which food is taken in for make using different body function. Then typically food is broken into smaller molecules and absorbed period utilization. Now you know, like all those metabolic reactions, those chemical reactions that takes place within our cells, right? Cells are very small. Now just imagine you are eating a slice of bread. Can that cell absorb that slice of bread? No, the whole slice of bread? No, they can't, right? So inside our body, right, whatever things we eat, those complex molecules are break down into smaller and smaller molecules, which are like to a size and to very small size, and those nutrients and those materials are absorbed into the cells for different chemical reactions, right? So that is done in our digestive system, right? Complex food molecules, they are broken down into smaller molecules and absorbed, right? For the utilization, right? That is done by our digestive system. Now, if we take animals, they are heterotroph, right? You know, like green plants, algae, they are phototrophs. Autotrophs. Autotrophs means they can produce their own food. But us, can we produce our own food? Then ඉරේලිය යටට ගිහිල්ලා අද්දක දිග අරගෙන හිටියොත් අපිට අපේ කෑම හැදෙනවද බඩගින්න රිවෙනවද? Right? We have to consume other organism. It can be a plant or animal material. So we are called heterotrophs because we can't produce our own food, and so we depend on other organism for our food requirements. So animals are heterotrophs. Right. What is this heterotrophic nutrition? Heterotrophic nutrition, it is the process by which these organisms obtain organic food molecules by ingesting other organisms or by substances derived from other organisms. Right? Obtain organic food molecules. Organic food molecules means the food molecules which contain carbon. Right? For the production of energy, we need glucose in our body. By ingesting other organisms or by substances derived from other organisms. Other than animals, fungi and majority of bacteria are heterotrophs. Right? If we take fungi, they can't do photosynthesis. They are heterotrophs. And if we take bacteria, cyanobacteria, they can do photosynthesis. But majority of bacteria, they can't. They are heterotrophs. Right? Under microbiology lesson, you have may learn phototrophs, photoheterotroph, chemoautotrophs, chemoheterotroph, like that. Right? Yes. Then, now if we take heterotrophic nutrition, it is two types as holozoic and symbiosis nutrition. Now here holozoic nutrition means, right? Here the animal ingest food into their alimentary canal. Right? They ingest their food into the alimentary canal. This process, this mode of nutrition, it consists of 5 major steps. First one, ingation, right? Ingation means intake of food into the oral cavity. It is the first stage where acting or feeding happen, right? Now here, it can be like if that animal is a carnivore, it takes animal flesh as its food. And if it is an omnivore, it can take both plant or either animal material. If it is a herbivore, it takes plant material only. And also, they pose different modes of ingation, right? They possess different modes of ingation. Anyway, ingation is the step where we intake food into our digestive system. Then the second step is digestion. Digestion means, now you know, whatever things we eat, they are like complex molecules. So inside the body, these complex molecules should be break down into small molecules to be absorbed by the cells. So this is done in the process called digestion. Digestion is 2 types as mechanical and chemical digestion, right? Mechanical digestion normally in the digestive system, mechanical digestion takes place by teeth or muscle contraction in the stomach. And chemical digestion takes place by enzymes. So during this mechanical digestion, what happens is this food is broken down into smaller fragments and it increases the surface area for the enzymes to act on, right? And during chemical digestion, right, enzymes act on those small molecules, food molecules, and they break down different bonds present in the large molecules and convert them into small molecules. And the next step is absorption. Now, the complex molecules have been break down into small molecules. Now, what is the next thing? We have to absorb those small molecules into our cells. This is called absorption. Animal cells absorb nutrients like simple sugars and amino acids into the cells. Next one, assimilation. Assimilation means the step where that absorb nutrients utilized for various functions of the body. Okay? Absorb කරගත්තු nutrients ටික ඇඟේ එක වැඩවලට පාවිච්චි කරන functions වලට use කරන step එකට අපි කියනවා assimilation කියලා. And the final step is elimination. Right? This is the process, right? In which that undigested materials are passed out from the alimentary canal. Right? අපි බලමු resource එකේ note එක. Holozoic nutrition. There are 2 types of heterotrophic nutrition as holozoic nutrition and symbiosis. Holozoic nutrition is the step where the food is ingested into the alimentary canal. And it is consist of 5 steps. Ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and elimination. Okay? Right. Now, main stages in holozoic nutrition. Ingestion. This is the first stage where the act of eating or feeding happens. Food sources differ among animal species and they possess different modes of ingestion according to the diet or environment. Digestion. Food is broken down into molecules small enough to pass through the membranes and enter the cells of organism. Digestion could occur mechanically by teeth or muscle contraction and chemically by enzymes. During mechanical digestion, Food is broken down into smaller fragments, thus increase the surface area for efficient chemical digestion. During chemical digestion, enzymes break bonds in large molecules into small molecules. The last two stages of food processing occur after food digested. Absorption. In the stage, animal cells take up small molecules, example simple sugars, amino acids. And assimilation. Assimilation is the process of utilization of absorbed nutrients for various functions of the body. And last step is the elimination. In this process, undigested materials are passed out from the alimentary canal. Okay, so that is the note given in the resource book. Yes, next we have to learn about feeding mechanisms of animals. There are four major feeding mechanisms: filter feeders, fluid feeders, bulk feeders, and substrate feeders. Right, filter feeders yani kawuda? Right, now if we take whales, right, clams and oysters, they are examples for filter feeders. Now can you see this whale? They ingest those like small fish and prawns that present in the water, right? So they are filter feeders. Here what happened is they strain suspended food particles from the surrounding watery medium. Here they use several mechanisms such as trapping and capturing. Okay. Clams, oysters, right? They feed on small pieces of food in the water that passes over their gills. So cilia in the gills sweep the food particles to the animal's mouth in a film of mucus. Whales, they are filter feeding of belly and baleen whales. Right. In a filter feeders. Now in the exam, they can give some like for MCQs, they can give some organisms names and they can ask filter feeders, then fluid feeders. එහෙම දීලා MCQ එක හරිද වැරදිද කියලා දාන්න පුළුවන්. તો filter feeder කියලා දාලා වෙන සත්තු ටිකක් දාන්න පුළුවන්. Then හරිද? So you have to study these examples also. The next group is fluid feeders. Mosquito, then these hummingbirds, right? Aphids, bees, they are example for fluid feeders. What they do? They suck nutrients from the nutrient-rich fluid from their host, right? From the host, living host, using their mouth parts, well-adapted mouth parts. Okay? Look at the first one example, mosquito. In the figure also they have given a mosquito who suck blood, human blood. Who is the host? Human here. Then aphids. They suck phloem sap of plants. Bees and hummingbirds suck honey from flowers. So those are the example for fluid feeders. Right? Then substrate feeders. Substrate feeders. Substrate feeders, example, leaf miner caterpillar. Now can you see in this figure, this caterpillar, this yellow color one is the caterpillar. Yellow color one is the caterpillar. Can you see? Like it has eaten this leaf, right? Okay, එයා මේකේ යන ගම එක කාගෙන තමයි ගිහින් තියෙන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ මේ තියෙන black color particles, those are the fecal matter of that caterpillar. And next one, maggots or fly larvae. They burrow into animal carcasses, right? Animal dead bodies. So these animals, substrate feeders, they live inside their food source. Food source එක ඇතුළේ ජීවත් වෙනවා. Or on the food source. Now look at this caterpillar. They live on the food source. and even this earthworm, right? And eating its way through the food. Right. Next one, fourth one, bulk feeders. Bulk feeders means like the best example is human, right? We eat comparatively large pieces of food, right? And we have different adaptations for to tear the food or to capture the prey. Now, if we take a lion or a tiger, they are carnivores. For that, they have like long eyesight, right? And they can run fast. They have sharp teeth and strong, like very strong body. Those things. And also now, if we take snakes, they have poisonous fangs, right? Then if we take cnidarians, they have tentacles. Like that, they have different adaptations to tear the food or to capture the prey. So there are 4 groups of feeders: fluid feeders, filter feeders, substrate feeders, and bulk feeders. Okay. Next one. Second example for heterotrophic nutrition, second type, that is symbiosis. Symbiosis, it is an ecological, right? Which kind of relationship? It is an ecological relationship between organisms of 2 different species. Now, these words are very important. So, if you have to write down a definition of symbiosis, you have to include these words, right? Organisms of 2 different species, not the same species, that live closely together. Symbiosis is an ecological relationship between how many organisms? Between organisms of 2 different species that live closely together. Now, if we take the E. coli and human, you know, like under microbiology, you have learned about that. E. coli, Escherichia coli, the minimal colonization of Escherichia coli in the large intestine. They produce vitamin K in our large intestine, right? And human. So they belongs to 2 different species. Minisui, of them are microbes. Then a species dekak. And these ruminants and cellulose digesting microorganisms that in ruminants. And termites and cellulose digesting microorganisms in termites. So they belong to different species. Now, if we take symbiosis, it can be divided into 3 groups as mutualism, parasitism, and commensalism. Mutualism, parasitism, and commensalism. Here, mutualism, it is a close association between 2 living organisms of different species which benefits both partners. හරිද? මෙතනදි මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? පාර්ට්නර්ස්ලා දෙන්නටම කිසි එක්කෙනෙක්ටවත් කරදරයක් නැහැ. දෙන්නට උදව් කරගෙන හරි යාළුකමින් ඉන්නවා. Examples: ruminants and cellulose digesting microorganisms in ruminants. දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් අපි fibers, ඔය ගස්වල කොළන් කෑවට, are they digestible in our digestive system? No, fibers are not digestible in our digestive system. But in ruminants, they are digestible. Because why? Due to the presence of this cellulose digesting microorganisms. Okay, and human and intestinal intestinal bacteria producing vitamin K. Okay. Second group, parasitism. Parasitism, it is a close association between 2 living organisms of different species which is beneficial to one and harmful to the other. Right, now let's take mosquito and human. Who is the host? Human is the host. Who is the parasite? Here now, human and plasmodium. Here in the malaria one, parasite is plasmodium. Then dengue wala, here the mosquito, it acts as the vector. මොස්කිටෝ වැඩ කරන්නේ කවුරු විදිහද? වෙක්ටර් විදිහට. ලෙඩේ අරගෙන යන එක්කෙනා. නිකන් අය වෙහිකල් එකක් වගේ. හරිද? Right. Now if we take malaria parasite, Plasmodium, he is the parasite. Right? This relationship is beneficial to him, the Plasmodium. But it's harmful to the human, the host. The same in lice and human. හරිද? එතකොට අපිට මේක ගන්න පුළුවන් endo and exoparasitism. Lice and human, it is ectoparasitism. But human Plasmodium, endo, because this Plasmodium present inside our body. Tapeworm and human, again, endoparasites. Right? Here, for one species, it is beneficial, and to the other one is harmful. Then, commensalism. Commensalism, it is a close association between two living organisms of different species, which is beneficial to one and does not affect the other. එක්කෙනෙක්ට beneficial. හැබැයි අනිත් එක්කෙනාට ගානක් නෑ. යාට කහානියකුත් නෑ, වාසියකුත් නෑ. Whales and barnacles attached to the whales. Right? Whales and barnacles attached to them. Cow and crane. Right? Cow and crane. Yes. Then human digestive system. Right? Before starting the human digestive system, I want you to write an account on feeding mechanisms of animals. Right? Write down an account or a short essay. The topic is feeding mechanisms of animals. Quickly. Write down the answer and submit your answers, right? Right. Topic again. Feeding mechanisms of animals. Feeding mechanisms of animals. Only 5 minutes. You have to write it down as an essay, right? But not. Right. We'll check the answers. If you need, you can write down this marking scheme. In 2015 A-level exam also, they have given a question from this part. 2015. Right. Point 1. Filter feeders. Point 1 is filter feeders. Point 2. They strain suspended food particles from the surrounding watery media. Filter feeders. Next point. They strain suspended food particles from the surrounding watery media. Next point. They use several mechanisms for capturing. Several mechanisms such as capturing and trapping. They use several mechanisms such as capturing and trapping. Next point. Clams and oysters. Clams and oysters. Next point. Feed on small particles. Feed on small particles or small pieces of food in the water that passes over their gills. Feed on small pieces of food in the water that passes over their gills. Cilia in the gills sweep the food particles to the animal's mouth in a film of mucus. Cilia in the gills sweep the food particles to the animal's mouth in a film of mucus. Now here I am giving the marking scheme in point wise. But in the exam, right, in the essay paper, you have to write the answers not in point wise. If you write the answers in point wise, you won't get marks. They will deduct your marks. Since it is the essay paper, you have to write it in paragraph form, right? In paragraphs, not in point wise. Okay? Then, next point, fluid feeders. Fluid feeders. Fluid feeders. Next point, they suck nutrient-rich fluid. They suck nutrient-rich fluid. Next point, from living host. From living host using well-adapted mouth parts. Using well-adapted mouth parts. Next point, mosquitoes suck human blood. Right? එහෙම නැත්නම් හරිද? You can write down aphids suck phloem sap of plants. Bees and hummingbirds suck honey from flowers. Next point, substrate feeders. Substrate feeders. Next point, they live inside their food source. They live inside their food source, or next point, on the food source, or on the food source, eating its way through the food. Eating its way through the food. Next point, leaf miner caterpillar. Right, sorry, connection problem. Leaf miner caterpillar eating through the soft tissues of a leaf. Eating through the soft tissues of a leaf. Next point, maggots or fly larvae burrow into animal carcasses. Burrow into animal carcasses. Next point, bulk feeders. Bulk feeders. Next point, animals which eat comparatively large pieces of food. Right? They eat comparatively large pieces of food. Show, next point, they show different adaptations to tear food or capture the prey. They show different adaptations to tear the food or capture the prey. Examples, jaws, teeth, tentacles, claws, poisonous fangs. Next point, most animals, including human. Right? How many points are there? How many points? Right. We'll start digestive system. Now, this is a picture of the digestive system. You can see the oral cavity here. Then, 3 pairs of salivary glands, pharynx, and esophagus, like this long tube-like structure that is called esophagus. And this is the liver, right? Then we have stomach, pancreas, large intestine, small intestine, anus. Those are the major parts of the digestive system. And now we are going to learn about those different parts separately. Now, you know, humans, they are heterotrophic organisms. There are 2 main types of heterotrophic nutrition. Holozoic mode of nutrition and symbiosis. Now, holozoic mode of nutrition, you know again, there are 5 steps. Ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and elimination. Right? So, human alimentary canal or digestive tract, it is the system which connects with the external environment and fulfill that holozoic mode of nutrition. So human alimentary canal is consist of, this digestive system is consist of human alimentary canal. Alimentary canal contain oral cavity, then pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum and anus. හරිද? alimentary canal එකට මේ liver එකයි pancreas ඔයි අයිති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒවා කියන්නේ මොනවද? ඒවා associated glands. Now, if we take human digestive system, it includes alimentary canal and the associated glands. Alimentary canal includes oral cavity, pharynx, esophagus, then stomach, large intestine, small intestine, rectum, and anus. Associated glands are the liver and pancreas. Okay? Right. First one is mouth or oral cavity. Now, what are the things that present in the oral cavity? කට ඇතුලේ මොනවද අපේ තියෙන්නේ? You know, we have tongue and we have teeth and we have salivary glands which secrete saliva. Okay? Salivary glands. We have salivary glands. Yes. Now, ingestion, which is the first step of holozoic nutrition. This ingestion and the initial digestion, you know, inside the mouth we have teeth. What these teeth do? Normally we chew our food, ne? It's kind of mechanical digestion. So ingestion and the initial step of digestion takes place inside the mouth. Right? Now here in the mouth, mechanical digestion is done by the teeth, right? And chemical digestion is done by the different types of chemicals that present in the saliva. Saliva is secreted by the salivary gland. Now, if we take teeth, there are 4 types of teeth. Look at this one. Canine, incisor, premolar, and molar. How many teeth present in an adult? There are 32. 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolar and 3 molar. හරිද? එක පැත්තක. ඒ වගේ 4ක් තියෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේ සෙට් 4ක්. right? Then this teeth, they cut the food, they mash it and ground by these teeth. They are different in shape. Canine, premolar, molar, and incisor, they are not like, they don't look same. They have different shapes. Anyway, we don't have to study them. Okay? So here, what is the function of teeth? They cut the food, mash it, and ground the food, right? Which makes it easier to swallow, and it increases the surface area for the enzymes to act, right? When we break down those large piece of food into small particles, what happens? Their surface area increases. එතකොට enzymes වලට ඇවිල්ලා වැඩ කරන්න ලොකු surface area එකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ වැඩේ හරිම efficient වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ inside the mouth there are salivary glands, with parotid gland, submandibular gland, sublingual gland. These are called exocrine glands. Later in this chapter, you will learn exocrine and endocrine glands. Anyway, inside the mouth, there are 3 pairs of salivary glands. This parotid gland, it is situated on the each side of the face, just below the auditory meatus, right? There's a structure in the ear, structure of the ear, you will learn about those things. මෙයා කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? Auditory meatus එකට පහළින්. කට දෙපැත්තේ තියෙනවා. දෙකක් තියෙනවා parotid glands. Submandibular gland එක කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? It's under the angle of jaw, right? Jaw එකට යටින් හකුවට යටින් තියෙනවා. Right? Sublingual gland. එයා ඉන්නේ කොහෙද? On the floor of the mouth, right? In front of the submandibular gland. Right. Those are the 3 pairs of salivary glands that are present in the oral cavity. These salivary glands, they release saliva into the oral cavity through the ducts. Ducts තියෙන glands. එතකොට මේ salivary glands වලින් මොනවද secrete කරන්නේ, release කරන්නේ saliva. Okay? Now, then ඔයගොල්ලෝ මොනවද කොයි වෙලේටද ඔයගොල්ලෝ කටට කෙල උරනවා කියන්නේ? saliva කට ඇතුළට එනවා කියන්නේ කෙල උරනවා කියන එක. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ කෑම කන්න කලින් කෑමක සුවඳක් දැනුනාම මොකද වෙන්නේ? අන්න කටට කෙල උරනවා කියනවා. නේද? දැක ගමන් කටට කෙල උරනවා කියන්නේ. එතකොට එතනදී මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? This saliva it release into the mouth before ingestion of food due to the smell, due to the odor of the food, or due to the sight. හරිද? එතකොට අපි කෑමක් කන්දිත් කෑම කන්න කලින් නෙමෙයි මං කිව්වේ. හැබැයි කෑම කටට අරන් කද්දිත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? saliva secrete වෙනවා. එහෙනම් saliva secrete වෙන විදි දෙකයි. Releasing saliva into the oral cavity occur when food enters to the oral cavity due to nervous reflex, and saliva released into the mouth before food is ingested due to various other stimuli like sight and odor of the food. Then what are the things present in this saliva? Saliva වල මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? Saliva, it contains water. Then it contains amylase, right? Amylase. Then saliva, amylase, saliva contains water, then amylase, mucus, enzymes, and antimicrobial substances like immunoglobulin and lysozymes. And also it contains buffers. Okay, buffers. Very good. You can answer those questions. නැත්තම් නින්දයයි, හරි? Now, so what are the things present in the saliva? chat එකේ දාන්න බලන්න ඉක්මනට මම දැන් කිව්වා. හයක් මම කිව්වා 1 2 3 4 5. කියන්න බෑ. Saliva. What are the things present in the saliva? Send your answers. Now in 2018 and 2013 and 2010, they have asked essay questions from this part to describe about saliva, its function, right? Yes, very good, domain B. Water, mucus, amylase, buffers, antimicrobial components. Right. Here, what is the function of water? Why water present in this saliva? Vathura tiyenne. It liquefy the food, right? Liquefy the food. And it provide watery medium for the chemical digestion and aids in taste reception. So there are three functions of presence of water in saliva. Liquefy the food, provide watery medium for chemical digestion, and aids in taste reception. Then salivary amylase. Salivary amylase, it is an enzyme. It do chemical digestion. Right? It do chemical digestion. Chemical digestion of what? It converts polysaccharides into smaller polysaccharides and disaccharide maltose. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් starch එයා මොකද කරන්නේ? Starch it is a polysaccharide. Polysaccharide එක එයා disaccharide එකක් කියවෙන maltose වලට convert කරනවා. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ අපි ගත්තොත් mucus. Function of mucus. It lubricates the food. Right? Lubricate කරනවා. මොකද ලිස්සල යනවා එතකොට ගිලින්න ලේසි වෙනවා. Lubricate the food which makes it easier for swallowing. And also it clean the mouth. Clean the mouth and protect the lining of the mouth from abrasions. There are three functions of mucus also. Lubrication of food which makes it easier for swallowing. Clean the mouth. Protect the lining of the mouth from abrasion. Then antimicrobial substances. They have given two examples here. Immunoglobulin and lysozyme. Lysozyme කියන්නේ enzyme එකක්, but it is not a digestive enzyme. හරිද? ඒක MCQ වල ගොඩක් check කරලා තියෙනවා. Lysozyme is an enzyme, but it is not a digestive enzyme. Digestive enzyme එකක් නෙමෙයි. Now if we take amylase, salivary amylase, it is an enzyme. It do digestion, involves in digestion, but here lysozyme, even though it is an enzyme, it is not digestive enzyme. It do not involve in digestion here. Here what they do is they protect against bacteria that enter the mouth. Right? Yes, very good, Dinuri. They destroy the bacteria. Right? And here microorganisms කියලා ලියුවොත් වැරදි. You have to specify that. That is bacteria. They destroy bacteria. Right? Not microorganisms. So function එක ඇහුවොත් you have right protect against bacteria that enter the mouth. Buffers, right? Buffers තියෙනවා මොකටද? To prevent tooth decay by neutralizing acids. Okay? Right. Those are the functions. Again, functions of the saliva. Right? Yes. Now, write down next essay point, essay topic. Write an account on saliva. Write an account on salivary glands. Yeah, write an account on salivary glands. Quickly. So you have to explain about the three types of salivary glands. You don't have to mention about location, but because it is not given in the textbook, you can mention about saliva, its components and functions. Right, quickly. You have 5 minutes. Now it's 8:56. You have to finish it at 9:01. Right, send your answers. Finish. Send your answers quickly. Okay, we'll discuss the question. Now here we have to write an essay on salivary glands. Okay, write down. First step, first point. First point. These are exocrine glands. These are exocrine glands. Next point. There are 3 pairs of salivary glands. There are 3 pairs of salivary glands. Parotid gland, submandibular gland, sublingual gland. Parotid gland, submandibular gland, sublingual gland. Next point. Ducts of salivary glands. Ducts of salivary glands open into the oral cavity. Opens into the oral cavity and secrete saliva. Secrete saliva. Next point. Releasing saliva into the oral cavity occurs. Releasing saliva into the oral cavity occurs when food enters, when food enters, when food enters the oral cavity due to a nervous reflex. Due to a nervous reflex. Next point. When saliva is released to the mouth before food is ingested. Before food is ingested due to various other stimuli such as cyto odor of food. Cyto odor of food. Next point. Saliva contains mucus. Saliva contains mucus, water, enzymes, buffers, antimicrobial components. Antimicrobial components. Next point. Mucus is a viscous mixture of sauce, cells, and slippery glycoprotein called mucins. Mucins, M-U-C-I-N-S. Next one, next point. Saliva secretion is under autonomic control. දැන් එතකොට ඔය points ඉගෙන ගන්න ඉස්සරහා පාඩමකදී. බයි ඉතින් exam එකේදී අහුවත් ඔය ටිකම ලියන්න ඕනිද මම ඒකත් include කරනවා. Saliva secretion is under autonomic control. Next point. Stimulation of sympathetic nervous system. Stimulation of sympathetic nervous system inhibits salivary secretion. Inhibits salivary secretion. Okay. Next point. Stimulation of parasympathetic nervous system. Stimulation of parasympathetic nervous system increases salivary secretion. Increases salivary secretion. Then functions of saliva. You can write down salivary amylase. Next point. Salivary amylase carry out chemical digestion of polysaccharides. Salivary amylase carry out chemical digestion of polysaccharides. Chemical digestion of polysaccharide into smaller polysaccharides and disaccharide maltose. Smaller polysaccharides and disaccharides of maltose. Next one, water, liquefied food. Water, liquefied food. Next point, provide watery medium for chemical digestion. Provide watery medium for chemical digestion. Next point, aids in taste perception. Aids in taste perception. Next point, mucus, lubricate food which makes it easier for swallowing. Lubricates food which makes it easier for swallowing. Next point, clean the mouth. Clean the mouth. Next point, protect the lining of the mouth from abrasion. Protect the lining of the mouth from abrasion. Next point, antimicrobial substances. Antimicrobial substances provide protection against bacteria that enter the mouth. Bacteria that enter the mouth. And last point, no, not last one, one before the last. Buffers prevent tooth decay by neutralizing acids. Buffers prevent tooth decay by neutralizing acid. Last point, aids in speech. Aids in speech. Okay, shall we move to next one? Right. Next one is tongue. හරි නේද? ඊළඟ එකට යමුද? Please reply. Okay. ඊළඟ එක right, tongue and pharynx. Now tongue, it is composed of skeletal muscles. බලන්න. දිවේ තියෙන skeletal muscles. හරිද? Helps to mix the food with saliva and make bolus of food that makes easier for swallowing. Then helps to push the bolus into the posterior part of the moral cavity and into the pharynx. Then pharynx, a common passage of the respiratory tract and a digestive tract. The pharynx leads to the esophagus. එතකොට pharynx කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Respiratory tract එකයි digestive tract එකටයි දෙකටම එකක්. මේ දෙකටම common වෙච්ච passage එක. ඒකනේ කියන්නේ බත් කකා කියවන්න එපා, කතා කරන්න එපා කියලා. හරි? මොකද අපි කන වෙලාවට digestive tract එක ඇරලා තියෙනවා. කතා කරන වෙලාවට respiratory tract එකත් ඇරලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට බත් කකා කතා කරන්න ගියොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? අර කන කෑමත් respiratory tract එකේ ගිහිල්ලා හිර වෙලා මැරෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? Right. Next one, esophagus. Esophagus. Now this is the structure of esophagus. You can see, right? This tube-like structure, right? It's a long tube which connects the pharynx and the stomach. Now, you know, our diaphragm, it divides up our body as thoracic cavity and abdominal cavity. So this esophagus is present in the thoracic cavity. Now, if we take the upper part of the esophagus, right, or tube එකේ උඩ ටික ගත්තොත් ඒකේ මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? Skeletal muscles. පහළ ටික තියෙන්නේ මොනවද? Smooth muscles. Right? එතකොට මේ පහළ ටික උඩ ටික ඉස්සෙල්ලා මොකද කරන්නේ? They helps in swallowing. Right? Smooth muscles, they involve in something called peristalsis. Now, peristalsis means it is an alternative wave of rhythmic contraction and relaxation of smooth muscles lining the esophagus. Okay? Now, esophagus, what is it? Where is it? It is present in the thoracic cavity. It is a long, hollow, 25 centimeter long tube. It's made up of both skeletal and smooth muscles. Skeletal muscles involve in swallowing and smooth muscles, right? They involve in a process called peristalsis. Okay? Harineda? Right. Write down the next question. Explain the structure and functions of esophagus. Explain the structure and functions of esophagus. 5 minutes. Quickly write down the answer. Have you finished? Another? No, I didn't get your answer, Mindy. Right. Others? Quickly. Okay, we'll write down the answer. Esophagus, number 1. It is a long, next point, hollow. Next point, muscular tube. Long, hollow, muscular tube. Next point, located in the thoracic cavity. Located in the thoracic cavity. Next point, it connects pharynx and the stomach. It connects pharynx and the stomach. Esophagus, next point, esophagus is consists of both smooth and skeletal muscles. Smooth and skeletal muscles. Next point, skeletal muscles are located towards the uppermost part of the esophagus. Skeletal muscles are located towards the uppermost part of the esophagus. Next point, rest of the esophagus is consists of smooth muscles. Rest of the esophagus is consists of smooth muscles. Next point, skeletal muscles of the esophagus. Skeletal muscles of the esophagus function during swallowing. Function during swallowing. Next point, smooth muscles of the esophagus involved in peristalsis. Smooth muscles of the esophagus involved in peristalsis. Next point, peristalsis is an alternative wave of rhythmic contractions and relaxations of smooth muscle lining the esophagus. Next point, during peristalsis, food bolus is pushed along the esophagus. During peristalsis, food bolus pushed along the esophagus. Okay, right. Now we'll start stomach. Yes. Now this is the structure of stomach. Now can you see this J-shaped structure, right? It is again hollow and muscular dilated sac which is present in the abdominal cavity. Now esophagus is present in the thoracic cavity, but stomach is present in the abdominal cavity. Now can you see the inner part? Now first this stomach we can divide into three parts as the fundus. Then we have the pylorus, right? Okay, can you see? There are three parts. Fundus, right? Those are not anyway given in the textbook. You don't have to include those things in your essays, right? Anyway, there is a greater curvature and lesser curvature. Can you see the sphincters? Pyloric sphincter, right? Okay. Now here, again, this stomach, it is a J-shape, hollow, musculus, dilated sac. It present in the abdominal cavity just below the diaphragm in the left upper quarter, left to the liver, right? Inside this stomach, can you see it is highly folded and contain large number of pits, and these pits contain gastric gland. Gastric gland contain three types of cell. One type is mucus. Mucus cells secrete mucus. Chief cells secrete pepsinogen, right? Pepsinogen, which involves in protein digestion, and parietal cells secrete H plus and Cl minus ions into the stomach lumen. This the distal part of the stomach, it connect with the small intestine, right? එතන හම්බෙන අපිට ස්පින්ට් එක තමයි අපි කියනවා the point where the esophagus connect this stomach connect with the small intestine at the distal end, it is called pyloric sphincter, right? These sphincters, they are made up of circular smooth muscles, and these help to regulate the passage of materials between the organs. And in the upper part, we can find cardiac sphincter. මොකද තියෙන්නේ cardiac sphincter. හරිද? එතකොට ඒක මොකද කරන්නේ? It connects the esophagus and stomach. So there are three parts of the stomach: fundus, body, and pylorus. And there are two curvatures: lesser curvature and greater curvature. What is the use of presence of these two curvatures? These curvatures help to keep the food for a long period of time in the stomach, so they can be digested, right? Can be completely digested. Then there is an angle. මේක කියනවා අපි acute angle එකක් තියෙනවා මෙතන. Right? There is an acute angle between the distal end of the esophagus and the fundus. Now somewhere here. Here. Can you see this acute angle? This acute angle, it prevents the backflow of gastric content. Right? Prevents the gastric backflow of gastric content. And these foldings, they are temporary foldings and they are called rugae. එතකොට අර small intestine එක ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා permanent foldings. But here in the stomach, they are temporary foldings and they are called rugae. They increase the surface area. Right, Hari. Again, stomach, it is a J-shaped, hollow, dilated sac. It present in the abdominal cavity. The inner surface of this is highly folded and it contains large number of pits, which leads to gastric gland. Gastric glands contain three types of cells. Chief cells secrete pepsinogen, mucus cells secrete mucus, parietal cells secrete H plus and Cl minus. Okay, and the stomach, there are three parts: fundus, body, and pylorus. And there are two curvatures: greater curvature and lesser curvature. These curvatures helps to keep the food for a long period of time. And the point where this esophagus connect with the fundus, there is an acute angle. It prevents backflow of food. Okay. And the sphincter, which is found at the junction between the esophagus and the stomach, it is called cardiac sphincter. And the other one is called pyloric sphincter. These sphincters, they are made up of smooth muscle, made up of circular smooth muscles, and they helps to regulate the passage of materials between the organs. Harida, right. Now in the exam, if they ask you to explain the gross structure of the stomach, you have to draw this diagram and you have to label the fundus, body, pylorus, then pyloric sphincter, cardiac sphincter, like that. Okay, now write down an essay question. Explain the gross structure of stomach. Yes. You have 5 minutes. Write down the answers quickly. Question. Explain the gross structure of the stomach. So you have to include the figure gross structure. Explain the gross structure of the stomach. Finish. Shall we discuss the answer? Okay, now here you are getting marks for this kind of essay. You have to draw this diagram, right? This diagram. You have to label the fundus, body pylorus, greater curvature, lesser curvature, cardiac sphincter, and the pyloric sphincter. Okay? Yes. Write down first point. Stomach is J-shaped. J-shaped. Next point. Dilated sac. J-shaped. Next point. Dilated sac. Next point. Present in the abdominal cavity. Present in the abdominal cavity. Okay. Then, stomach wall is very elastic. Stomach wall is very elastic. Next point. Distal part of the stomach connect with the small intestine. Distal part of the stomach connect with the small intestine. Next point. Proximal part of the stomach connects with the esophagus. Connects with the esophagus. Next point. Sphincters are found at the junctions. Sphincters are found at the junctions between esophagus and stomach. Sphincters which are found at the junction between esophagus and stomach is called cardiac sphincter. Cardiac sphincter. Next point. Sphincter found at the junction between stomach and small intestine. Stomach and small intestine is called pyloric sphincter. Pyloric sphincter. Next point. Sphincters are made up of circular smooth muscles. Circular smooth muscles. Next point. Sphincters helps to regulate the passage of materials between these organs. Sphincters helps to regulate the passage of materials between these organs. Then next point. The inner surface of the stomach is highly folded and contain large number of pits. Large number of pits, right? Then next point. Each pit leads to gastric glands. Each pit leads to gastric glands. Okay, next point. Gastric glands contain 3 types of cells. Gastric glands contain 3 types of cells. Mucous cells, chief cells, parietal cells. Mucous cells, chief cells, and parietal cells. Okay, Harida? Harida? Right. Others? Right. Hari. ඊළඟට chemical digestion in the stomach. Now, the initial steps of digestion starts in the oral cavity. In the oral cavity, what happens? Proteins, polysaccharides get digested into what? Into disaccharide or small polysaccharides. Okay? Here, in the stomach, protein digestion start. Protein digestion එක පටන් ගන්නෙ කොහෙද? ඒක පටන් ගන්නෙ oral cavity එකේ නෙමෙයි. ඒක පටන් ගන්නෙ stomach එක ඇතුලේ. එතකොට දැන් අපි දන්නවා stomach එකේ තියෙන pits වල gastric glands තියෙනවා and they secrete different types of things. Mucus, pepsinogen and epithelium. Now here, this mucus and pepsinogen. Pepsinogen can inactive එකක්. It is the inactive form of pepsin. Right? Mucus is secreted by mucus cells and pepsinogen is secreted by the chief cells. And parietal cells, they secrete H plus and Cl minus into the stomach lumen. The stomach lumen එක ඇතුලේ තමයි HCl හැදෙන්නේ. හරිද? ඒක protective mechanism එකක් විදිහට තමයි එහෙම release කරන්නේ. Right? HCl, it is a strong acid නේ. Right. එතකොට now first this pepsinogen, it is converts into its active form by HCl. මොකද වෙන්නේ? අර parietal cells වලින් secrete කරන H plus and Cl minus, they join and form HCl and they activate pepsinogen and convert pepsinogen into pepsin. Now these activated pepsin, they helps to activate the remaining pepsinogen molecules. Now activated pepsin initiate chemical digestion of proteins in the stomach. Protein digestion එක එහෙනම් කොහෙද පටන් ගන්නෙ? In the stomach. Carbohydrate digestion එක කොහෙද පටන් ගන්නෙ? In the oral cavity. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ මේක ඇතුලේ මේ බඩේ දැන් තියෙනවානේ රූගේ. Right? Churning action එකකින් මොකද වෙන්නේ? It facilitate for the chemical digestion. Okay? ඊට පස්සේ next one. We'll go through the resource book note. Stomach is a J-shaped dilated sac in the abdominal cavity. The inner surface of the stomach is highly folded and contain large number of pits that leads to the gastric gland. Gastric glands contain 3 types of cells: mucus cells, chief cells and parietal cells. The stomach wall is very elastic. Distal part of the stomach connects with the small intestine. Sphincters are found at the junctions between esophagus and stomach and small intestine. They are made up of circular smooth muscles. These sphincters helps to regulate the passage of materials between these organs, right? මම ඒ ටික explain කරා. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ chemical digestion. බලන්න. Gastric glands of the stomach secrete gastric juice. Gastric juice mainly consists of mucus, pepsinogen, HCl. කවුද mucus secrete කරන්නේ? Mucus cells. Pepsinogen secrete කරන්නේ කවුද? Chief cells. HCl secrete කරන්නේ කවුද? Parietal cells. Now this mucus and pepsinogen are secreted by the mucus cells and chief cells respectively. These parietal cells release hydrogen ions and chloride ions separately into the stomach lumen where HCl is formed. Pepsinogen is initially converted into pepsin by HCl. This activated pepsin helps to activate remaining pepsinogen molecules. This activated pepsin initiates the chemical digestion of protein in the stomach. The churning action of the stomach facilitates the chemical digestion. This is a series of muscle contraction and relaxation. This process mixes the swallowed food with gastric juice. Proteins are hydrolyzed to the small polypeptides by pepsin And in the stomach, food is mixed with gastric juice forming chyme. The stomach lining is protected from the digestive action of HCl and pepsin in several ways. Enzymes are secreted into the lumen as an inactive enzyme. එතකොට දැන් මොකද වෙන්නේ? බඩ ඇතුලේ තියෙන මේ stomach wall එකත් proteins වලින් හැදලා තියෙන්නේ. මේගොල්ලෝ මොකද කරන්නේ? protein digestion තමයි කරන්නේ. ඒ හින්දා කෑම නැති වෙලාවක බැරි වෙලා හරි මේ gastric enzyme එක juice එක බඩට secrete වුණොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? ඒගොල්ලෝ බඩේ wall එක කනවා. එතකොට තමයි ඔය gastritis කියන condition එක හැදෙන්නේ. Now we have to prevent that. එතකොට ඒකට නවත්තන්න adaptation තමයි. Now here these enzymes, they are secreted into the lumen in the inactive way. Example, pepsinogen, right? It is the inactive form of that enzyme. Then gastric glands secrete mucus that protect against self-digestion of stomach lining. Every 3 days, cell division adds a new epithelial cell layer which replace the destroyed or damaged cells in the lining of the stomach. So those are the preventive mechanisms that has been taken to protect the stomach lining from digestion by HCl and pepsin. Harida? ඒ ටික ඔක්කොම තේරුණාද? නිදි මතයිද දැන්? හරිද? Right. එතකොට දැන් ඔන්න today we discuss about the epithelial tissue, then nutrition in animals, right? Oral cavity. Then we wrote essays and we answer one structured essay question, right? Esophagus, and we learn about the gross structure and chemical digestion. So next day, now anyway, I thought I decided to complete whole unit today. I mean this part, but the time is not enough. And now it's raining in my side. So we'll do the next part next day, right? Okay, the functions of the stomach and the essay on chemical digestion of stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and associated glands. Okay, any doubts?